The agenda this week explored the consequences of concussions on athletes' lives, tested the potential for behavioral economics to transform policymaking, and surveyed the stressors on world water systems. The agenda's Week in Review now begins with a conversation about how small charities work to make a go of it. How do you have any impact with such small budgets when everybody else is out there, not everybody, but a lot of people are out there trying to raise such big dollars?
I worked at Sick Kids for 10 years. I worked for UNICEF for 8 years. I worked for the big organizations, and it has been quite a learning experience for me to come work in a Toronto Foundation where we're working with organizations like all of these guys all the time. And it is incredible to me the number of myths that are out there about donating to small organizations, right? I have a community of philanthropists, right? That's who I work with all the time. And they'll say to me, well, if I've never heard of them, I don't know if I can trust them, right? Or they'll say, well, how do I know where their money is going? And yet, when you go into any of these shops, you'll see a ton of modesty. You'll see people working 16-hour days. You'll see, I always talk about the executive director's office. And often these are kitchen tables or they are small back room, windowless spaces. There's very little waste. And that what we're seeing is direct impact and what satisfaction of the donor to actually get to know the organization deeply and see their dollars at work right away. I call it the blue ocean space of philanthropy, and our mission is to hopefully encourage more people into these spaces.
What do you do, Carrie, on the days when you realize that the $2 million you're going to raise doesn't amount to a pimple on the back of an elephant in terms of the need that is out there? Like, how do you go into work with your head up?
It's tough. It's tough. You know, when you know that you're doing important work, when you know that the work that you're doing has such a profound impact on the people that you're serving, to not, you know, on a night out in our van when somebody comes and says, can I have a sleeping bag? I don't have a sleeping bag, and it's -6 and you're standing in a pile of snow, and I have to say, we gave the 2 that we had on the van out already tonight. It's the feeling, and that boils it down to such a tangible thing. I don't have a sleeping bag to hand him, and it hurts. It hurts, and it's a pity.
How do you handle those moments when you know that you're getting 1% of the money? Is that what you said? You're getting 1% of the money that's aimed at fighting all the different cancers out there?
We get 2%. On a good year, we get 2%. I get mad. I get really mad, and then I stop getting mad, and I try to partner. So we've been successful in reaching out to the Cancer Research Society. They've come in on a $2 million partnership. Terry Fox has come in on a $5 million partnership. We are still trying to partner with the Canadian Cancer Society. If we could, that could make a huge difference.
Well, what do you mean if you could? Why couldn't you?
We haven't been able to meet with them yet.
What?
We've certainly tried. We've had an executor come forward who was making a fairly large donation, and was being made to the Canadian Cancer Society, but without a specific cancer. And the executors got excited about pancreatic and asked the Canadian Cancer Society to consider directing the money to one of our projects. So not even having the money come into our charity, but directed to a project for pancreatic. But to date, they haven't moved forward with that offer, but we remain hopeful that they will, and we can be partners.
Well, you just showed them up on TV, so maybe that'll work.
It's not my goal. You know, actually, to tell you the truth, this is a horrific disease. This is a death sentence. And this is not something that we should be fighting over or struggling over. We certainly shouldn't be competing against each other. We should be partnering and getting the money where it needs to get to with your researchers. And there's really no room for anything else.
Diana, how many volunteers you got?
Well, that's what I wanted to mention in terms of assessing an agency by the size of its budget. We have we have probably over 300, and we have about 150 who are active on a regular basis. That is equivalent to about 10 full-time staff. So if we were to put the full cost of our budget, it would be much higher. The other thing is all of our clothing is donated. So we serve 13,000 people individually during the year. So we're much bigger than it would appear on our on the balance sheet, for example.
You punch above your weight, as the expression goes.
We do, and mobilizing networks, resources, partnerships. I think a lot of small charities definitely punch above their weight, and also need to be assessed on their impact, on their outcomes, not on the size of their budget.
So I didn't go back to the hospital, kept on playing Friday, Sunday, 18 months. And 18 months in Winnipeg, sitting at home, I realized there was something wrong. I ended up in a psych ward for 2 days, and they basically attributed it to depression. I was 30 years old, had everything as far as, I didn't make it in the National Hockey League, but I had cars and parties and fun and everything that you could ask for, and they said I was depressed. Threw me on an antidepressant drug. I don't remember the first month going back. Got through it, threw it away, and here I am today, hopefully better.
Can you still play hockey?
Well, played yesterday.
Did you?
I've got the greatest move standing still. I'm really good.
But you do play.
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
Can you still play basketball?
No.
You can't play anymore at all?
No.
How old were you when you played your last game?
20 years old. Yeah. And I think that I'm truly affected by, I feel more along your story day to day. I'm 8 years down the line, and I would do the same. I would give it all back to not feel how I feel now.
How heartbreaking is that, not to be able to play that sport you
for sure
love so much, right?
And, you know, some of my best friends are still from sports. Sports given me tons of opportunities. I would, you know, I'd give back my Division I scholarship. I'd give back my time at Western. So that says a lot, I think.
Recognize her?
For sure. Yeah.
So you can't you can't go to the backyard and shoot hoops anymore on a backboard?
I wouldn't go with a group of people, but I would go because it's that trust of other people around me, right? I used to ski a lot too. I don't do that. Just worried about, I can trust myself to go down the hill because I can go at my own pace, but there's a whole bunch of other people on the hill too. So it affects day to day for sure.
Katie, what kind of impact on your moods has being concussed had?
I mean, it's been heartbreaking. A lot of, you know, mental health, I think, goes with the territory. When you have a concussion, I always tell people, you know, watch out for depression, anxiety, and for me, it's been, like you said, you know, a long journey of just the grieving process. Life's completely changed. I can barely, you know, exercise.
So you're not back on skates at all?
I'm on skates, but I can only get my heart rate up to a certain point where, you know, that the airplane, ear popping comes back, headaches, even nausea. So
you're not playing hockey?
No, I'm not. I would like to start playing like just a little bit of pickup. I've played in our alumni games at school, but those are the only 2 times I've been on the ice playing a game in the last 9 years.
How was it?
So, I mean, I had a smile, you know, a constant smile. So I'd like to try to get back into it, but again, it's the trust. I've had to give up snowboarding. I bought a pair of skis one year thinking, you know, this is it. I'm gonna go skiing, and I can't risk falling. So it's tough when you can't do the things you once loved to do, and you know, just I can't imagine going through that as a young child too. So I run a lot of hockey camps, and these kids that just go stir crazy, right? So it definitely affects your mental health for sure.
Are you in pain right now?
Yeah, I'm in pain every day. So I have chronic pain now. I have 2 partially torn jaw discs from my bike crash, and I get, you know, it's hard to tell if it's tension headaches, constant neck pain. So just a lot of pain management right now, and hoping that you know, someone's able to help me a little bit more than what I've been able to accomplish. It's been baby steps for the last 8 years.
A big company wants to launch a new product. Let's say they want to create a new hot dog, and they want to make sure it's organic and, you know, free from any of the antibiotics that are used in cattle and all that kind of stuff. And of course, it launches it, and then the company is going to monitor the launch and see how well it's done. It's going to get some feedback from the marketplace, maybe tweak the product this way a little bit, just to make sure that it's, you know, working right, or if it's not working right, they're going to kill it and try something else entirely. This is how the marketplace generally tends to roll things out. At least in my experience, it tends not to work that way in government. You know, governments don't iterate policies the way companies do with iPhones, that kind of thing, right? They don't necessarily also do enough of the formal scrutiny or research that would tell you, yes, this really is working, or no, this really is not working. So at the risk of sounding ridiculous here, how do we get governments to roll out policies in a way that is more like trying to sell hot dogs?
Yeah, well, I think they're starting to move in that direction with the sort of deliverology that the Privy Council office is doing. But I agree, it's a problem. I think one of the issues that you have is you have these sort of large management changes whenever you have an election. It's not like in a company where you have a CEO and then 3 years later the opponent of that CEO is now running the company. So there's a political aspect to it. But I think it's just a culture that needs to change, where we talk about running government more like a business, and that tends to make me shudder a little bit. But here's a case where I actually think that would be helpful. Of designing things ahead of time, where you think of, okay, what are we trying to accomplish with this policy, and how do we know we have actually accomplished that? That in the past, when we do analysis, we kind of do the policy first, and then we try and think through, okay, well, how would we actually measure success after we've already enacted the policy? And the whole idea of deliverology, which the federal government is doing, saying, no, let's put those metrics on the front end. Let's decide before we even enact the policy, what does success look like, and how would we know if we've reached it?
The feds, of course, got that idea from the Brits. Mm-hmm. It seemed to work for the Brits. And I don't know if the jury is out in Canada as to whether or not deliverology, as it's called, is working here. Do you know?
Well, I think it's still early to tell. What was it? It says on the government's deliverology website, underway with challenges, I think is the terminology that they keep using. So yeah, I would say in Canada, deliverology is underway with challenges.
Work in progress?
Definitely work in progress. I mean, I want to pick up on one point that Mike was just making about what is the deliverable, right? So in your example, the way government has worked traditionally, the deliverable is the sausage, not whether or not people actually buy the sausage. And we need that to be the deliverable.
That is a fascinating distinction. The
Right.
deliverable is the sausage, not whether people actually want the sausage.
And that's what it should be.
Of course it should be.
Right,
They don't
so-
think that way in government?
They're starting to, but I don't. But it's certainly not at the. It's certainly not percolated the entire system in the way that it needs to. That being said, I'd say there are some really nifty initiatives that are trying to get people to think this way. I mean, and so I can speak to two of them. In fact, they're both out of the Treasury Board Secretariat. One of them is called Experimentation Works. And the purpose of Experimentation Works is twofold. One, to disseminate knowledge about how to actually do experiments. And the way they're doing this, instead of providing this knowledge in abstraction, is actually helping a few different departments in government do an experiment that is related to their individual mandates. And so like learn by doing, so to speak. And then the second purpose is to document this, do it all out in the open so it can be replicated. To my mind, this is really excellent sort of initiative, because you're building that capacity within government to start to think about whether or not people want the sausage as the deliverable that you're reaching towards. Then a second initiative is called Talent Cloud.
Hang on, before you go there, can I just come back on that? Let me gently push back on that a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not sure that works in government, because in the private sector, where you can do all that behind closed doors, and here's version 1 and then version 2 and version 3 of our product, and we'll reiterate as we go through it and make it better to the point where when we finally get something out the door, that's great, and then we'll improve it as it gets out there. And that's why we've got how many versions of iPhone now? I don't know, we up to 10 now or something? Anyway, in government, you can't afford to experiment, because if the opposition gets brown enveloped on this, you are the subject of question period. You're on the front page of the newspaper the next day, and the whole idea is to embarrass whoever led the experiment.
Yeah.
How do you have success in those kinds of circumstances?
And I think this is a great point, because this is precisely where experimentation done right is in fact a risk mitigation strategy, as opposed to leading to the kind of risk that you're describing. Because what we're saying is, let's do something on a small scale. Let's do a pilot experiment to see if something works. If it doesn't work, we've just done it on a small scale. We can do things to make it better. In addition, I mean, we learn about what doesn't work, what fails. Hopefully, we won't replicate that. And we will not have a ginormous failure that'll blow up in our faces, leading to the kinds of consequences that you're describing.
we have to integrate climate, environment into economic decision making straight away. There's no substitute for regulation in government. I'm sorry to say that. I know it's not popular. Nobody ran on a tax and won, but it starts there, right? You have to force businesses to do environmental impact assessments, social impact assessments, and adhere to these things.
Okay, let me put that to Frank. Are you concerned, do you know whether the government of Canada is concerned, that private companies are taking too much water out of our Great Lakes for private purposes?
Certainly, we tried to regulate that and tried to look at that. And it's a solution also we have to think about. We can't just do one thing in Canada and have a different thing in the United States. So one thing, at least on the scientific part, we certainly work hand in hand with our American counterparts. We have basically, whatever my job is, there's a counterpart on the US side. So I believe that there's, as Gail talked about, this compact between the different governors and of the states and the provinces. So there are very strict regulations. There was the case up in Milwaukee where a city wanted to take water from the Great Lakes Basin, although they were slightly outside of the basin. There was a whole controversy above that. So
just the Waukesha case?
It's the Waukesha, exactly. Okay. So, and although it was looking at the big picture, just a very small amount of water, it was all about the precedent that it might set, of course, because if you do that, well now, and a little bit of bigger city's going to ask for it, and a little bit of a bigger city, and eventually you've got, I don't know, Idaho looking for it. So
apropos of that, let me read this here, because Sheldon, you want to bring this graphic up here? Here's, because there's so much fresh water, you can imagine that 50 years from now, there might actually be a pipeline that brings water from the Great Lakes to Phoenix. I think that that's part of our future. This, according to Jay Famiglietti, who's a NASA jet propulsion scientist in Pasadena, California, who later said that he wasn't advocating building a pipeline from the Great Lakes, but rather that others may want to explore this in the future in order to help grow food in places where they have less water. Is this a crazy idea?
Yes.
It is a crazy idea.
No, but can I jump in on this?
Sure.
The Central Arizona project is also a crazy idea. And because I work around the world in arid environments, there's not a policy maker in an arid environment that doesn't look at Phoenix and Las Vegas and say, I want that. So they believe that this is a viable kind of future. I lived in Botswana for 11 years, and on the Okavango River, the Namibian government at the time, in the early 2000s, have this dream to bring water from the Okavango down, flood to bring water from the Congo River into the Okavango to flood the delta and to green the desert. And this sounds crazy, but in some cases, if there's enough money around, water can look like oil.
Well, that's what, forgive me here, I got a minute left and I want to give it to Linda, because I'm wondering, as one looks forward, whether or not we can imagine that the wars of the future are going to be fought between those who've got the water and those who want the water.
Absolutely, and we'll see the wars even within our own country of Canada, with our still strained relationship between our First Nations people and the Canadian government. Historically, we have never ceded any right or title to water. The American tribes of the states feel the same way, and with this compact agreement, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the relationship with First Nations and Indigenous tribes. Our elders foresee wars in the future.
Our elders foresee wars in the future over water.
Over water. Right now, water is more expensive than gasoline.
And it's true, isn't it? Yeah. You want the last word on this? That is a frightening future.
It is, and I can't contradict an elder. But I could say that water is life, and there are some parts of the world where the only time nations come together peacefully is because they share the water and they need it for sustenance.
So that's hopeful.
That's my sense of hopefulness.
And that is the Agenda's Week in Review for this Friday, March 23rd, 2018. You can see all of those conversations in their entirety on our website, tvo.org, on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/theagenda, and on our Twitter feed. That's twitter.com/theagenda.
The Agenda with Steve Bacon is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.